Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to this week's episode of Maconomics. I'm your host, Ross Mack, and I'm here to try to help you get to a bag. Now today, we're not gonna be taking the caller, but more so, we're trying to focus on how to build Black generational wealth. Now it's Black History Month, right? So we wanna learn from the past in order to actually change the future. So when we actually look at Black people and our relationship with money historically, it's very troubling, right? The primary reason is because wealth has been strategically and intentionally kept from Blacks in America. Right, by design, the system has always found a way to keep Blacks from attaining wealth. Now we obviously know it's gonna stem from slavery, and that ranged to redlining, to predatory lending, and just outright theft. Right, imagine after the Civil War, Black people were supposed to get a bank, and instead this bank, that was actually called Freeman's Bank, ended up mismanaging our money through fraudulent investments and lost over 60,000 depositors' money worth $3 million. And that was back in the 1800s. That same $3 million would be worth over $60 million today. Now this actually robbed Black people of their savings, as well as a psychology that made Black people just not trust banks. And then you got 2008 crisis, right? Where Black people literally lost half of our net worth to the housing crisis and unemployment. And to actually fast forward to today, Black spending power is $1.6 trillion as of 2021. That sounds powerful, right? Well, since 2001, the Black household net worth is actually down by 14%, while over that same time frame, the overall U.S. net worth is actually up. And to put that in perspective, the stock market was up 27% and the real estate market was up 31% last year. Yet we didn't participate in this wealth creation because we don't own enough assets. Unfortunately, we spend more than we invest, and we make less than our counterparts. And to make matters worse, by year 2053, the Black net worth is actually expected to reach zero. And so you know what the goal is, man? Just to make sure that never comes true. We have to figure out how we can actually reverse this statistic. And the blueprint is obviously to study the Black people that came before us to actually put those lessons into real life practices. So if you look at, Black Wall Street, for instance, with O.W. Gurley, he gave us the blueprint. It was to support Black businesses. And guess what? Back then, the dollar was circulating in our communities a lot longer. Right today, the dollar gonna leave the Black community after 6 hours. Over 100 years ago in Tulsa, Oklahoma, when we had Black Wall Street, well, that dollar could circulate for about a year before leaving. Then we could even look at Reginald Lewis. Just like O.W., he was actually once the richest Black man in the U.S. And how? He was an investor, right? He started out as a lawyer, then went into private equity. And at the time, when it was an anomaly to actually see Black guys on Wall Street, Reginald ended up dominating, right? He ended up literally buying a grocery store conglomerate and making it the first Black-owned business to literally make over $1 billion in the 1980s. And then we can fast forward to present day when you got my dog Robert F. Smith, and he literally picked up where Reginald left off. And guess what? He's also the richest Black man in the U.S. Most people, right, really didn't even hear about him until he actually was known for paying off the graduating class at Morehouse and all their student loans, right? But how did he actually get this type of bread, right? He also had a background in private equity, right? He got a private equity company called Vista Equity Partners. Now, the commonalities among all these three Black men is that they invested, right? The reality is that the Black net worth will surely go to zero if we don't learn how to invest and invest more. The next thing is to understand that investing in Black businesses is also important with helping keep the Black dollar in the community a lot longer. So when it comes to investing, right, the power of the internet has made it easier than ever to not only invest, but to also learn how to properly invest, right? You don't need to graduate from Harvard or Wharton to learn that buying the S&P 500 every month could actually help you retire as a millionaire, right? 90% of the world's millionaires acquired their wealth through real estate. And there were many misconceptions about real estate, and now we actually know you only need 3.5% to put down instead of the 20% that a lot of people thought to buy a home. And you can start out by buying a multi-unit crib where you can live in one unit and rent out the other units. And guess what? Your tenants will actually end up paying your mortgage for you. Right at the end of the day, Black content creators are putting on for the culture by helping bring these taboo topics of money to life and actually making it easier to digest. Today you get, the likes of Maconomics. You got my podcast, Money Music Culture, with my dog, Brandon Copeland. We got Earn Your Leisure and that whole network with Rashad Troy and MG, and that's just to name a few, right? But investing is the only way to get ahead in this world, right? We have to own stocks and real estate. We also have to purchase life insurance policies as part of our overall estate planning process. But at the end of the day, receiving the knowledge is only half the battle. And the next step is implementation, right? Here you have to understand there are various resources that could actually help repair the damaged relationships that Blacks have with banks. Now, what better way to actually repair that relationship than potentially banking with Black-owned banks, right? You got One United Bank, which is the nation's largest Black-owned bank, and you got Greenwood Bank, definitely worth looking into, right? And at the end of the day, we got companies like State Farm that are allies, and as part of their commitment to being a good neighbor, they support minority communities through charitable community investment efforts. State Farm is committed to financial resources to support minority communities and issues of racial equity and justice. And their contributions support a variety of community-focused projects, including small business support, funding for affordable housing programs, and educational advancement programs. So look, at the end of the day, what's the goal? The goal is to make sure the black net worth never reaches zero by 2053, or better yet, ever in life, right? So how will you contribute? Will you start supporting black-owned businesses? Will you start investing? Will you start letting your mom and your cousins know to also invest? And what will you be doing to help contribute to our cause?
Haggai, chapter 1 and verse 5, and it reads, Now therefore thus saith the Lord, Yahweh of hosts, consider your ways. Ye have sown much and bring in little, ye eat, but ye have not enough, ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes. All praise to the Most High Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakak Wadash, and double honor to the apostles and elders, great millstone, Shalom to the hopeful elect. It's your brother Atazawan Bayath, and back at it again with another lesson. And I was inspired, all right, to do this lesson just really off a conversation that I had with somebody that I know, all right, who's planning on building so-called generational wealth, black generational wealth. All right, we saw that 5-minute video, all right, going into the thought process of black generational wealth. So Jake is still on that building wealth here in Babylon the Great. All right, really. With all the things that are going on in the earth, and you can see how things are playing out. And Jake still has this idea that they could somehow prosper here, okay? Now, there were obviously a lot of men and women who did prosper, all right, during certain times in the last, 100 years or so, maybe a little bit more, all right, who did pretty well for themselves, all right? However, ultimately, on a grand scheme of things, the Israelites have not done well in the Western Hemisphere. Why? Because you're under the curses. That's the first thing. Okay. So I'll finish this next verse. All right. Well, let me read it again. Haggai 1 and 6, and it says, Ye have sown much and bring in little, ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, consider your ways. Right? So Jake has to consider their ways. All right. So the Lord gave us two things. Well, two things, and we had to choose one, essentially, if we just put it in a capsule. You can follow my rules and regulations, my commandments, my statutes, my judgments, and so on, and you can be blessed. Or, if you don't do it, you can be cursed. And these are the list of curses, as we are pretty familiar with in Deuteronomy 28, all right, the 28th chapter. So we fast forward to today, and you still have Jake with the things that are going on, who still think that they have the power in their own hands, right? As this society teaches you, well, you can be successful if you do the right things, if you are smart enough, okay? If you have enough people to back you, and all these different philosophies, all right, which are customs and ways and philosophies of Esau, Edom, all right? Nobody can outsteal the devil. Esau is the prime example of a thief, okay? What they teach in these different colleges, in different classrooms and such, oh, well, you can get it this way, as if they were honest, okay? They were not honest, okay? They're the devil. And anything that they do, all right, is devilish. Okay, anything that they do that will increase them, they do it in a wicked way. All right, and once again, Jake, trim their ways to be a part of the club, right? To borrow a phrase from Ice Cube, okay, to be a part of the club, okay. So we're just gonna hit some scriptures here and just say, hey, you know what? Building black generational wealth in Babylon the Great, when it's about to be destroyed, is futile. It's just a waste of time. Okay, now I'm not going to sit here and say that, if you want to stash something away or you want to pick up something one way or another, and, because we don't know when the last day will actually be, sure. I mean, okay. But to depend on that and to think that that's going to preserve you, all right, and preserve your so-called legacy, because black folks have this big thing with legacy and black excellence and all of this other stuff. You're doing it in a time period in which, hey man, the clock is ticking. The sand in the hourglass is just about out, all right? And anyway, using Esau's trickery, all right, and they're smoking mirrors on how to so-called build wealth, man. It's the Lord that gives, particularly talking to us Israelites, the Lord is behind whether a man be rich or poor, okay? You can't really, gauge that on your own. So anyway, let me stop rambling. Let's just get to the scriptures. This is Psalm 62:7. It says, "In Yahweh is my salvation and my glory, the rock of my strength and my refuge is in Yahweh. Trust in him at all times." What time? All times. When the stock market is up, that's when no, you trust in the Lord in all times. Okay? Trust in him at all times, you people. Pour out your heart before him. The Most High is a refuge for us, Selah. Surely men of low degrees are vanity, and men of high degrees are a lie. To be laid in the balance, they are altogether lighted in vanity. Trust not in oppression, and become not vain in robbery. If riches increase, set not your heart upon them. Right. So the Lord is the one that will increase you. All right. But see, when you're dealing with Esau's methods, his methodology of investing in real estate, investing in the S&P 500, and all those different things that man mentioned, you're rolling the dice because your trust is not really in the Lord. You're trusting in this man's system to increase you. Okay? And sometimes, you could get in the world and get out. You can get into something and get out of it, But you can see many, many Jakes who put their faith in that, all right, rubbing their hands together, and they can't wait to collect the increase. You see? And so Esau has set up all these different avenues where they get rich. Why? Because people dump their money into their idea, and that's how they get rich. Okay? The game is rigged. Okay? The odds are stacked against you. All right? Just to say it in a more, just for lack of a better words. Okay? Going on with the scripture, let's go on to verse 11, and it reads, "The Most High has spoken once, twice have I heard this, that power belongeth unto the Most High. Also unto thee, O Lord, belongeth mercy, for thou renderest to every man according to his work." Okay? But the idea is that you're supposed to trust in the Lord. All right? And I know somebody from, like I said in the very beginning, in a conversation, talking about their plans for one, retirement, right? Two, the streams of income him and his wife are both going to have, right? And then the investments that they're making okay, to buy certain properties and this, that, and the third, and rent them out as Airbnbs and this and that, and so on. Okay. Still having that carnal, worldly mindset, thinking that they're going to somehow deliver themselves through all the dainty things that they're going to accumulate. Okay. This is Proverbs 23:1, and it reads, "When thou sittest to eat with a ruler, consider diligently what is before thee, and put a knife to thy throat. If thou be a man given to appetite, be not desirous of his dainties." See, there it is. I guess that's why it was in my mind, because I pulled the scripture up. "For they are deceitful meat. Labor not to be rich. Cease from thy own wisdom. Wilt thou set thine eye upon that which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away as an eagle towards heaven." Right. You know, you setting your eyes upon something that really isn't there when you're talking about different types of investment. Now, sometimes, yeah, you can hit it at the right time, but that would be the power of the Lord that allows you to gain some increase. Okay, you know, but you got to understand to make moves to get in, to get out. You know, but you're not trusting in these riches, right, to deliver you. Whereas you see people today in Babylon the Great, right, here in America, that think that they're going to live fat and good when they retire, not giving any consideration to the Lord at all. Okay. This is Deuteronomy 28. And in fact, let's go up some, because I did mark something up here, I believe. It was locking. Let me see, I wanted to read. What did I want? Yeah, right here in Deuteronomy 28:16, it says, "Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store," right? Talking about, you know, that which we have in our hands, okay, and that which we may have stored up, bank, all right? You might have a safe somewhere, okay? You know, these types of things, you know. And the point being is that you're not safe from losing it, okay? And see, we as a people have to trust in the Lord and put our faith in the Lord, right? And once we did not keep our part of the bargain, the Lord threw these curses on us, okay? Going on to verse 18, "Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out." All right. So coming in and out, right? Even of this life, you know, certain men have a hard way to go. When I say men, I'm talking about, you know, men, women, children, you know, who are Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You catch a hard way to go. Okay. You might come into some substance and then end up losing it, just like that. You might come into some substance and somebody swindle you out of it, right? Sell you a bill of goods. Okay. Now let's jump down to verse 43. "The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail." And right now, Israel is the tail. Okay? You got to go to this man for want of all things. All right? But again, you got Jakes who are planning, even in this day and age, which is the reason why I'm doing this lesson. Like I said from a prior conversation a day or so ago, okay? And you got people who are trusting is still in this system, as broke as it is. Okay, this is Jeremiah 51:7. It reads, Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reaches unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. And that's this place, all right? You're gonna start seeing a lot of these other nation people getting the hell out of here, and which they're doing it now, and going back to their own homeland. Okay. All right. So now let's take a quick look at so-called generational wealth. And it reads here: generational wealth refers to financial assets that are passed down through families to children, grandchildren, and beyond. Assets passed from one generation to the next might include cash, investments, property, and more. Okay. Here it says the accumulation of assets such as cash, property, investments, and other financial resources that are passed down from one generation to the next. All right. You got jakes still out there in the world who are thinking that they're going to live good. All right. And they put their trust in Babylon. Okay. And the scriptures are filled with examples of how the Lord has the power to do all of these things. So these things such as make a man rich, or make a man poor, bring a man up, bring a man down. Okay. All right. And scriptures that, through the precepts, right? It says we get understanding these precepts that tell you, don't lay your heart towards these riches that can easily flee away from you. Okay. This is Luke 12:16, and it reads, and he spake a parable unto them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentiful. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do, because I have no room where to bestow my fruits, right? You got so much, okay? You run out of room, don't have a place to put the new stuff, the increase, okay? And many people worry about, their money, all right? Their assets, okay? Just how to get more and how to keep what they already have, right? Going on to verse 18, and it says, and he said, this will I do, I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. All right. So you buy yourself 4 or 5, I don't know, condos down at the lake somewhere. All right. They going for, I don't know, $95,000, $110,000 a pop. And you're going to rent them out as Airbnbs and charge, I don't know, what, $150 a night? Okay, my question was, what are you going to do when everybody lose their job and you can't rent it? All right. I mean, sure, you still had a property, but you'd have to sell it in order to get your money. And more than likely, some slick willy ass Edomite will tell you how the real estate market isn't doing good and clip your ass for 50% cheaper. Okay. Anyway, going on to verse 20, it says, but the Most High said unto him, thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall these things be which thou hast provided? So is he that layeth up treasure for himself and is not rich towards the Most High, right? You should be doing things and putting it into your spiritual bank account, all right? Doing as much for the Lord as you can, But people are really carnal, man, Everybody wants to live this celebrity life. Okay. Let's go back to Deuteronomy. All right. And this is it's a good chapter because it goes into a lot of the great things that the Lord had promised. Let me see here. Salakia. Let's look at this. Deuteronomy 8:1, and it reads, "All the commandments which I commanded, Salakia, which I command thee this day shall ye observe to do, that ye may live and multiply and go in and possess the land which the Lord Yahweh sware unto your fathers." Okay, and you see at the top it says, what? Most High's gracious dealings. Okay, so you can read Deuteronomy 8 if you've never read it before. Okay, but let's go down here to verse 16, and it reads, "Who fed thee in the wilderness with manna?" Right, because Israel is extremely proud. Okay, never really wanted to give the Lord his due, right? Give the Lord his shine. Okay. "Who fed thee in the wilderness with manna, which thy fathers knew not, that he might humble thee, and that he might prove thee to do thee good at the latter end? And thou say in thine heart, my power and the might of mine hand have gotten me this wealth," right? And so you see these different people, all right, particularly some of those that young man mentioned in history. You know, these were Israelites, but they were not living as such. I would not imagine, had no clue that they were, all right? Now, some things worked out for them, but ultimately at the end of it all, what happened? The devil came in and destroyed their towns, okay, and burned everything down to the ground. You see? Why? Because you under the curses. Okay? And you have a lot of Jakes who've done pretty well and are extremely proud. Okay? That's one of the characteristics of an Israelite. You know, when you wicked, you know, your pride rears its ugly head. Okay? Back to verse 17. "And thou say in thine heart, my power and the might of mine hand have gotten me this wealth. But thou shalt remember the Lord thy power, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he sweareth unto thy fathers as it is today, to this day." Salaki. So it's the Lord that has the power, all right, that gives a man the ability to get wealth because the Lord blesses them. Okay? But in this day and time, that shouldn't be your focus. Okay? All right? This is 2 Corinthians 8:9. It says, "For ye know the grace of our Lord, Yahushua Mashiach, that though he was rich, yet for your sakes he became poor, that ye through his poverty might be rich." Right? So, in faith, we come into the blessings of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, all right, through what Yahushai did for us on the cross, all right, who is rich and promised to share all things with those, particularly the elect, but those that he loves and that loves him, you see, all right, and you can't trust in this world. This is First John 2:15, and it reads, "Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh," right, "the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passes away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of Yahweh abideth forever." Okay? All right? I'm not saying that you can't stash a little bit here and there, but don't be in love with it, and don't think for 1 second that the Lord can't take it away from you. Okay? All right? And don't trust in it. Okay. It's Isaiah 31:1. It reads, "Woe to them that go down to Egypt for help and stay on horses and trust in chariots because they are many, and in horsemen because they are very strong. But they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek the Lord Yahweh." Right? So there you heard a young man talk about all the different ways Esau basically has set up for you to build black generational wealth, right? Nonsense, okay? Nonsense. You're not doing it yourself, okay? If a man become rich, it is done by the Most High. Not no goddamn insurance, not no S&P 500, not real estate, all these different things that was named in that 5-minute clip, all right? So with that, I'll pretty much just, oh, you know what? Let me go to this too, because I forgot this. Slack you. But you can't trust in all of that, all right? Because this time that we're living in now is a time of preparing your soul, okay, to be delivered from this place, all right? So we live as though that's what we're doing, okay? We're not thinking about, what did he say, 2053, the money or the investment, I forgot how he said it, that it'll be at zero for so-called black people. There ain't gonna be no 2053. Lord willing, it won't be. All right. So this is 2 Ezra 16:43, and it reads, "O my people, hear my word, make ye ready to thy battle, and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth. He that selleth, let him be as he that fleeth away, and he that buyeth as one that will lose. He that occupieth merchandise as he that hath no profit by it, and he that buildeth as he that shall not dwell therein. He that soweth as if he should not reap. So also he that planteth the vineyard as he that shall not gather the grapes. They that marry as they that shall get no children, and they that marry not as the widowers. And therefore they that labor, labor in vain. For strangers shall reap their fruits, and spoil their goods, overthrow their houses, and take their children captives. For in captivity and famine shall they get children." Right? Now, the whole point being, okay, you have to have a mindset that you may be on the run in these last days, right? You can't be worried about other things that you can't carry with you. You can't put your $1.2 million house on your back and run away, right? You ain't gonna be able to drive your Phantom or your convertible Bentley or your flying Spur away where nobody will notice you, okay? When insurrection starts, when the rioting starts, okay, when you're gonna have to flee from everything, when you're gonna have to run or quit your job, or you lose your job, okay? And all you have is a bag on your shoulder, you see? Because there's some hard times that's coming. And right now, trying to build some kind of black generational wealth, I don't know, it's a waste of time, all right? So anyway, that's all I had on that, okay? Like I said, it's just a conversation spawned this lesson, all right? To say that the power of getting wealth belongs in the hands of the Lord. He give it to whoever he wants to have it, and he can take it away whenever he wants to. And that currently in this state in Babylon, right, the way things are economically, the way things are spiritually, I wouldn't even waste my time trying to do that. But, you know, these are people who are still carnal-minded, right? They're not spiritual, right? The Lord hasn't opened their eyes to see what's going on, all right? And it just, something, I know what it is, but sometimes it amazes me that people are still walking around here sleepwalking, you know? They ain't with it. So anyway, that ended for the lesson, all right? Lord willing, it was edifying to anybody that watches it. You know, like I said, you know, prepare yourself for for the coming days. All right, and don't worry about building no damn generational wealth. All right, that's just me speaking as a man. All right, get yourselves together. And with that, I'll end the lesson right there. All right, giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, B'Kakwadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of the great millstone. Shalom to the hopeful elect. I'll see you all again real soon with another lesson, Lord willing. Shalom.